What is up, everybody? Week 6 in the books, and now we are looking at week 7, our waiver wire pickups for week 7. So we'll go over that in this video. Before we get into that, guys, just do me a quick favor, smash that like, smash that subscribe. If it's your first time here, drop a comment below. And before we get into some of these guys for our waiver wire pickups, some of these guys have been on previous videos already as far as waiver wire pickups, but these guys are still available in a lot of leagues, and they could have been picked up and then dropped. But let's get right to it. And let's start at the running back position. I've got quite a few running backs on this list, a couple tight ends, a couple wide receivers. But let's go over the running backs first. First guy up is going to be Jordan Mason. Eli Mitchell has been injured, missed the last few games, did play last game. I mean, he had 2 rushing attempts for -3 yards. So I'm not sure exactly how healthy he is, but with the injury to CMC now, and the injury to Elijah Mitchell, Jordan Mason is the guy that's getting playing time. So if CMC is going to miss any time, and if Elijah Mitchell is banged up, as he usually is, Jordan Mason is the guy that comes in and gets a lot of the work. 5 attempts last game for 27 yards and a touchdown. 10 carries the game before that for 69 yards and a touchdown. So back-to-back touchdown games for Jordan Mason. And as long as CMC is going to be out, Jordan Mason is a guy that you could be able to plug in if you're in need of a running back. But we know what this offense can do. We know they're a great offense. We know the running back's going to get the ball in this offense. So again, if CMC is out, we definitely want to have Jordan Mason, especially being that we don't really know the situation with Elijah Mitchell right now. Apparently he is healthy, but Jordan Mason did outtouch him last game when Mitchell was back. Our next running back up is going to be Latavius Murray. He has been on a waiver wire pickup videos in the recent weeks because I thought he could carve out a good role in this offense, and because I know Damian Harris typically does not stay healthy. And unfortunately, he had that injury in this game and had to get taken off in the ambulance. Hopefully he's going to be okay. But Latavius Murray stepped right up, had 12 carries for 45 yards. So he is going to be a guy that's going to be involved on a good offense at the goal line as well. So give me some Latavius Murray if you're in need of a running back start. I think him and James Cook can give you a nice kind of 1-2 punch there for the Buffalo Bills. Latavius Murray, just a guy that continuously just winds up grinding out a role through injuries and things that happen. He finds himself playing once again, and this time for a very good Buffalo Bills team. So Latavius Murray, pick him up off of waivers for week 7. Next running back up to pick up off of waivers is going to be Kareem Hunt, Cleveland Browns. Jerome Ford is obviously kind of the main guy there, but Kareem Hunt is now finding himself and carving himself out a role in the offense. 12 carries last game for 47 yards and the touchdown to go along with 3 catches on 3 targets for 24 yards through the air. I don't think Kareem Hunt is taking over the backfield in any sort of way. I think Jerome Ford is still going to kind of be that main guy, but Kareem Hunt is going to be a guy that you can play if you're in need of a running back going forward. A lot of injuries to running backs, so there are a lot of guys that you might have to plug and play into your RB slots through the next coming weeks or for the rest of the season for that matter. So go out and get Kareem Hunt off of waivers for week 7. The next running back that we're going to talk about is Devin Singletary. 12 attempts last game for 58 yards. He was a lot more efficient than Dameon Pierce was. Now, is this going to continue going forward? He did play his highest snap share percentage, which was over 50% of snaps this last game, where Dameon Pierce was only about 30% of the snaps. So that was kind of a little weird, especially since the game before that, Dameon Pierce actually took all the carries out of the backfield. So it was interesting that Devin Singletary is now getting a chance because Dameon Pierce just hasn't been producing. He hasn't been that good. He has not been efficient at all. So it looks like they might be trying to give Devin Singletary a chance here to make something happen. I'm not really comfortable playing him going forward, but he is a guy that you do want to have on the bench, especially if Dameon Pierce gets injured or if this continues to happen and Singletary just starts to see more and more snaps. But it is really hard to trust any of these running backs on the Texans going forward. We did have an injury to David Montgomery this past week. Looks like some cartilage in the rib or around the rib area. We do not know if he's going to play or not. He may miss a week or two. Jahmyr Gibbs also injured as well, so he didn't play last game. Is he going to be able to come back? He's got a hamstring issue. So Craig Reynolds is really the only guy in that backfield if Monty is going to be missing some time. Now, Craig Reynolds, not very good. He is just kind of a running back, just a body that's there at the moment, but he is going to be the next guy up. He is going to get the rushing attempts and the receiving work. I mean, 10 attempts for 15 yards only last game, so 1.5 a carry, not very good at all. So I'm not really comfortable at all really trying to plug in Craig Reynolds. But if you are desperate and Monty doesn't play next week, you can try and plug in Craig Reynolds there if you're absolutely desperate. The last running backs on this list of players to pick up on the waiver wire for week 7 is going to be Zach Evans, the rookie Los Angeles Rams. We have Kyren Williams with an injury right now. Seems like he's going to miss some time, whether it's 1, 2, 3 weeks. He's got an ankle injury that he's going to be dealing with, which is he's a smaller running back, and they were giving Kyren the workload, and now all of a sudden he's starting to break down a little bit. We've also got Ronnie Rivers, who got injured in this game as well. And he's going to miss possibly 4 to 5 weeks with a PCL sprain, apparently. So that leaves Zach Evans as the next man up in this backfield. Only had 4 carries last game for only 10 yards, so 2.5 a clip. Not very impressive at all. But Zach Evans was a guy I was very high on coming out of college, coming into the draft. Did not get the draft capital that we were looking for, but he does find himself in a kind of good situation for him. I mean, Cam Akers finds himself getting kicked out of LA, and now you've got Zach Evans as basically the main guy in this backfield with both Ronnie Rivers and Kyren Williams down. So Zach Evans has a chance to, number one, carve himself out a huge role for the rest of the season, because I do think he is better than Ronnie Rivers, and he can carve himself out a role as that RB2 if when Kyren comes back, they kind of slide him right back in, or does it become some kind of timeshare because of the work that Zach Evans is going to put in within the next couple of weeks. So it'll be interesting to see what Zach Evans does over these next couple of weeks, but he's definitely a guy that you want to add if you need running back help off a waiver wire this week. Now let's get into the tight ends. The first tight end we're going to talk about is Michael Mayer. Finally getting some life out of Michael Mayer on the Raiders. It looks like maybe the time has come now that we're starting to, get into the season and getting into the second half of the season, where most of the time these rookies, this is when they start to perform as we get into the second half of the season. Michael Mayer last game played 80% of the snaps, had 6 targets, 5 catches for 75 yards. And he looked really good. Normally, it takes time for these tight ends to develop and to actually put up good fantasy points. But we're seeing Michael Mayer now at just after week 6. It looks like he's going to start to take over that tight end 1 role and be the guy there for the Raiders. So if you're in need of a tight end, pick up Michael Mayer. My next tight end I'm going to talk about to pick up off of waivers this week, and he didn't have a great game at all, but Greg Dulcich. I mean, only 2 targets, 1 catch, only played 20% of the snaps. But I do think with the news that the Broncos may be looking to move off of certain players, if Judy goes somewhere, if Sutton goes somewhere, somebody's got to step up in this offense. And I think that can be possibly Greg Dulcich. I wasn't crazy high on him coming into the season, but now that they may be having to make some moves, and now that he's healthy, we could see Greg Dulcich emerge as a favorite target of Russell Wilson as we get into the second half of the season here. But if you do need a tight end and you do got some room on the bench, maybe you can stash away a Greg Dulcich. And that kind of leads us right up into the wide receivers. And we'll talk about Marvin Mims. I mean, same exact situation. If one of these receivers or both of these receivers get traded and go somewhere else, Marvin Mims kind of slides right up in. I mean, he's had some good production early on in the season, but hasn't played a ton of snaps. So I'd very much be interested in Marvin Mims if one of these wide receivers gets moved. And now is going to be the time that you should stash him, because you don't want to wait until the last minute once that trade happens and then everybody's up on Marvin Mims. So if you got room on the bench, go out and grab him this week off of waivers. Next wide receiver up, who's been on previous videos as well, is going to be RASHEE Rice. 4 catches for 72 yards this last game. Just not commanding a ton of targets, but he's been decently targeted and has had catches in all of the games so far. Not enough for you to really start him or throw him in the flex or anything like that, but a guy that could see his role increased over the course of this season as we get into the second half of the season. He did play about 50% of the snaps against Denver, which other than week 3 was the highest percentage of snaps. I mean, his snap share has been a little funky. I mean, we went from week 1, 31 to 18 to 51 to 46 to 30 to 49. So it hasn't been consistent which is the weird part. Like, he's not out there running a ton of routes, but when he is out there, he is getting targeted. He is getting the football. So it'll be interesting to see what happens going forward. He's not a great man-to-man guy, but he's great against zone coverage, and he's great after the catch, the yak ability, which is what we've seen him do on this offense. They get it to him in a decently short spot, and then he's kind of taken off, getting that extra yards after the catch is what we've been able to see out of Rashee Rice so far. So go pick up Rashee Rice off of waivers for week 7. Just stash him on the bench for now. We're not going to play him yet. We are going to wait for a real breakout in the second half of the season if that does come. And the last guy on our waiver wire list for week 7 is going to be Wan'Dale Robinson, who has been on previous waiver wire pickups as well, but he's still only 30% rostered in sleeper leagues. Go get Wan'Dale Robinson while you can. I mean, 8 catches last game on 8 targets for 62 yards. He's a great PPR play. You're playing full PPR. He's a guy you can possibly throw into the flex or bye week fill-ins or injury fill-ins if you need. But he's gotten better pretty much every game since he started in week 3. 5 targets, 6 targets, 6 targets, 8 targets. 4 catches, 5 catches, 5 catches, 8 catches. So we're really starting to see them give a role to Wan'Dale Robinson, which he did have last year, obviously, before he got injured, on a Giants team that's not very good and does not have many weapons. Outside of Saquon Barkley and Darren Waller, it is basically Wan'Dale Robinson is the next guy up. So stash Wan'Dale Robinson for now. If you need to play him, I think you're safe to at least play him in full PPR formats. But he has been a guy that I've been talking about all offseason coming into the season as a guy who can just gain value as the season goes on, coming off of that injury. But that'll wrap it up for this video, guys. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Do me a quick favor there. Smash that like, smash that subscribe if it's your first time here. Drop any questions or thoughts you have down in the comments. Let me know who are you picking up this week or any other questions that you do have. I'll make sure to get back to you as quick as I can. Appreciate y'all. See y'all in the next one.